Hey, this is Joe Hubbard from JoeHubbardBassVideos.com, and this is the 5th lesson in my Pentapositional System Chord Studies course, and in this particular lesson we're going to take a look at the diminished 7th chord. It has to be said straight away that the high percentage application for a diminished 7th chord is going to be as a superimposition on top of a dominant 7th chord. And the way that we're going to apply this will create a dominant 7th flat 9 chord. So basically what we're going to do is take the diminished shape and we're going to put it 1/2 step above the dominant chord. And kind of the easy way to think about this in the beginning is that we're not really changing our positions that much from the dominant 7th chord. In fact, all of them will be the same except for one, and that's going to be the flat 9 position, because we're basically substituting a flat 9 for the root. And if we take this example and we take a C dominant 7th chord and we have C, E, G, and B flat, and that would be root 3, 5, and flat 7. And if I then substituted a D flat, which is 1/2 step above the C, for the root, that's going to be called flat 9, and we're going to have D flat, E, G, and B flat. This D flat, E, G, and B flat is a diminished 7th chord. The formula for the diminished 7th chord is going to be 1 flat 3, flat 5, and double flat 7, and the characteristic sound that's created by the diminished chord is created by equal intervals of minor thirds. So if you look, there's a minor third between the D flat and the E, there's a minor third between the E and the G, and then there's a minor third between the G and the B flat. Now we can take this concept much further and we can go into deeper superimpositions over the dominant 7th chord, but this is a good place to start, and this gives us a nice characteristic sound of a 5 chord in a minor key, because it's really outlining that dominant 7th flat 9 sound. So if we then look at basically taking all of the dominant 7th positions that we had, and we're just going to alter the one from the root, and we're going to call that the flat 9, and that's where we start. Remember, our root position from the dominant 7th chord was here. And now I'm going to substitute the flat 9 for that, and I'm going to have this. This is going to give us this diminished sound superimposed over a dominant sound. The reason I want to do this in this way for you guys right now is that many guys who begin to learn the diminished sound, they don't realize the application. There is an application of diminished over a diminished chord, but quite frankly the diminished chord doesn't come up that much. I mean, it is used, but really very seldomly do you really see a diminished 7th chord, and you often see it sandwiched in between two strong tonal chords where it creates a chromatic bass line, and also where it's moving by very quickly, where you can hardly really take the time to play over it. The real nuts and bolts application of diminished goes straight away over dominant, and it gives us that minor dominant sound that we need to have. And this is an often confusing subject for many guys who have learned a little bit about major harmony but don't understand the minor harmony application. So this is going to really propel you into some new dimensions by just looking at this concept. So the first form we're going to call flat 9. Okay, then I'm going to move up and I'm going to have my third first variation. So I'm here, and remember, I've got to play that D flat and substitute for the C, and it creates this new shape. But I've still got that to kind of lean on, that anchor that I've got those dominant 7th positions already down, and this is very useful, very helpful. This is an accelerated method to get you to learn these diminished things, and in the same breath you're realizing how to apply it, because this is how you're going to use it 95% of the time. So then we move up again, and this is where we have our duplication position, 3-second variation. Okay, and you know, you get that diminished sound is a very open, ambiguous sound, one of the reasons for that is that when you take a diminished chord, because it's all built in minor thirds, if you invert it, it just becomes another diminished chord, and the natural ear cannot tell the difference between whether it's in root position or first inversion or second inversion or in third inversion. In other words, it just hears another completely new diminished 7th chord. So further down the road, we've got lots of variable applications for diminished stuff, which is really cool, but we got to learn the foundation first, and this is where you want to start. If you get this together, you can build on this, okay? So we had that 3rd, 2nd variation. Now we move up to the 5. So the 5 is going to be here. Okay, and then I move sequentially up to the flat 7, and I've got this. And then I finish off on the flat 9 form, which is like this. And that takes us from our starting form in C 1 octave above. So what I want to do now is take that same principle by applying the going up and going down within each form exercise for familiarity. So I'm going to start here on flat 9. Step, what we want to do is move this up a 4th to F7 flat 9. Remember, what we're doing is taking a G flat diminished 7th chord, superimposing it over an F7, and what we're doing is we're getting an F7 flat 9 chord as a result. All the forms stay the same, except for the root. That changes to flat 9. So we start on the first form, and that's going to be form 5. I've got 5, flat 7, flat 9, 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, 3, and then play that back down to the 5. I'm going to move up sequentially to my next form, which is flat 7. I've got flat 7, flat 9, 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, 3, 5, and then back down. Then I move up to the flat 9 form, and if I remember my original dominant 7th form from the root, I have this. And then all I have to do is substitute the flat 9. So I have the flat 9, the 3, the 5, the flat 7, the flat 9, the 3, the 5, the flat 7, and then I just play that back down to the flat 9. So then moving up, I've got the 3rd first variation. So here I've got 3, 5, flat 7, There's my flat 9, my 3, my 5, flat 7, and then my flat 9. Going up yet again, I stay on 3. This is my second variation. I've got 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, and then I'm going to take this up to form 5, which was our starting form, but now we've got it up the octave. So form 5 8 VA is going to look something like this. I got 5, flat 7, flat 9, 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, 3, and then I play these principles to all of the keys. We're going to move up in the cycle of fourths, and what we're going to do is establish the starting form. And remember, this is predicated on the ideas that to do this in every key, what I've got to establish is the starting form first and foremost. From there, it all just moves sequentially up and back down the fretboard. We'll only have 5 forms, and these cycle themselves around and then repeat themselves. So we started with C7 flat 9, and this starts on form flat 9. F7 flat 9 started on form 5. B flat 7 flat 9 starts on form 3, first variation. E flat 7 flat 9 starts on flat 7. A flat 7 flat 9 starts on form 3, second variation. Now we've gone through our 5 keys, so now we're on D flat, and I'm going to start on the form flat 9. Remember, this is superimposing a D diminished chord over the D flat 7. Then on F sharp 7 flat 9, I'm back to 5. On B7 flat 9, I'm taking it from the 3rd, first variation. From E7 flat 9, I'm taking it from flat 7. Then from A7 flat 9, I'm taking it from the 3rd, second variation. Then I've gone through 5 keys again, so I'm back to D7, and that's going to start me off on form flat 9 again. And then I finish this off with G7, which is form 5. Okay, in this next sequence, what we're going to do is apply the melodic filter to the dominant 7 flat 9 or the diminished 7 shapes, which we're superimposing over the dominant 7 flat 9. So the ascending filter would look something like this. ascending, ascending. So this concludes the 5th lesson of my pentapositional system chord studies course, and what we've been dealing with today is the diminished 7th chord. It's been an interesting lesson because we've taken the diminished 7th chord and we've superimposed it 1/2 step above the dominant 7th chord, and thus creating a dominant 7 flat 9 sound. So this is where you can take diminished ideas straight out of the box and use them in real-time application. So I want you to work hard on these, integrate this into every key, practice this hard. The sound is a little ambiguous, it's a bit open-ended, it's a bit hard to hear in the beginning, but once you start getting this together and listening to people using this stuff on records, you'll start to get this straight away. This is not like a 6-year development program. This is like, you know, in the next 3 to 6 months, you should be getting this together and ingraining this into your subconscious vocabulary, along with other things that you're going to be learning on this website. So make sure you head on over to the Lesson Lounge and see how all the other things can integrate with this pentapositional system. Now, you know, I get a lot of emails and a lot of questions, and one of the frequent questions that I've got recently is guys who say, you know, I can play these arpeggios or I can play some arpeggios, but I find it hard to integrate arpeggios or chord tones with chromaticism. Well, the chromaticism in itself is a complete system, and 2 or 3 courses down the line we're going to be starting on applying chromaticism to these pentapositional patterns. So hang with me on that one. The first thing that you got to really establish is where those chord tones are. And again, most people compartmentalize this, so they might learn a chord tone or a set of chord tones in one position, then they learn some chromatic ideas, but then again they're stuck with that being a particular shape or pattern in a specific location on their fretboard. And they can only relate to it if it's from that location, from that specific angle of the chord. If we incorporate all of these positions within each chord in all keys, when we start applying our chromaticism to that, it's a whole different animal, and I want you to really look forward to that because that's what's coming up later in the progression of the courses. Anyway, guys, as always, I want you to practice smart. I want you to apply this stuff creatively, and I'll see you at the next lesson. Take care.